Hello, my name's Alistair Flood, and today I'm going to be reviewing for you the Apple iPad. Okay, the iPad is a tablet computer made by Apple. It's based on the popular iOS software. This is the same operating system that's used in iPhones and iPod Touches, so it'll be instantly familiar to anyone who's used one of those products. And it is excellent for portable computing, using it around the house, and especially for travel. It reduces a lot of the clutter. The first thing I'm going to discuss about it is the hardware.
The first thing to notice about the iPad is its gorgeous display. As you can see here, it's got a 9.7-inch display. This means it has an excellent resolution and looks great. The display is entirely multi-touch, and most of your input will be through that display. So for example, you can zoom in using multi-touch. It has a home button at the bottom, which can also bring up the search and the multitasking bar. It has a sleep switch at the top, and it has a volume rocker and a mute switch on the bottom. The final hardware feature of the iPad is the accelerometer. This is a device within the iPad that means that when you turn it on its side, it shifts the orientation so that you can use it either in landscape mode or portrait mode. This is, for example, you might want to watch video in that mode, whereas you might want to read a book in that mode. Next, I would like to talk about the software of the iPad. The iPad now runs iOS 4.2. This is the latest version and has brought in a lot of new features that make the iPad into an amazing device. The first and probably the most important of these features is multitasking. With the iPad nowadays, you can double tap the menu button and it'll bring up the multitasking bar. From here, you can select an application and it'll take you to the same place that it was when you left the application. So for example, earlier on I was playing a game, so I can just go down to that game, open it up, and the game's still playing. Similarly, I can go into notes, we make a note, and then go straight back into the game, and it will be where I left off. A second new feature is the folders. Before, on iPad before iOS 4.2, you couldn't have any folders. All your applications were just laid out as they are. However, in the new one, you can easily create a folder just by taking an app, placing it over the top of another app. That creates you a folder. It means that the organization of your applications is a lot better, a lot more swift, and it reduces a lot of the clutter and the number of screens that you'll need. Another marked feature of iOS 4.2 is the new email inbox. iOS 4.2 now allows you to have a unified email inbox, meaning that if you have more than one account, you'll be able to have a single email inbox and all your messages will be delivered there. It also allows for what's called threaded messaging. So, for example, if you're having a conversation with someone through email, and there's lots of different emails in that conversation, it will allow you to have all the emails listed in one place. So, for example, that was the first email, the second email, the third email. It just means that your email inbox is a lot less cluttered and it's a lot easier to read. The keyboard is a very important part of the iPad, as this is how you will do much of your interaction and input on the iPad. Now, there's no physical keyboard on the iPad. Everything is done through an on-screen keyboard, so nothing pops out for you. So I'll bring the keyboard up. As you can see, it corresponds in size very similar to a normal keyboard, just slightly smaller. It is actually very easy to type on. A lot of people are very wary of using an on-screen keyboard instead of a hardware keyboard for a device such as this, but it works very well. It has the same sort of autocorrect as an iPhone, so as you can see, it brings up a little box, so when you press spacebar it autocorrects. It does take a bit of getting used to, but once you get used to it you can type very quickly. I've got used to it now and I can put out a fair few words per minute. There's people who now rival physical keyboards due to the autocorrect feature in terms of words per minute. A final iPad software feature I'd like to discuss is AirPlay. A lot's been said about AirPlay, and it is the ability to stream content from your iPad directly to a television. You don't need to go through a computer, you don't need to use any cables, it does it through a network. At the moment it only works on Apple TV, but there's been promise of a lot of future AirPlay devices. So I've got my Apple TV set up on my television, and I have some content on my iPad. So we're going to videos, How I Met Your Mother.
Yes, great.
Brings it
No,
up.
then I am done going after
Bring up the
Robin
controls.
forever.
So what's this big, beautiful, romantic gesture?
Select
I am going to
living
make
room
her.
Apple TV. Stops playing on the iPad. And starts playing on the television.
I see where this is going. Ted waiting naked in a girl's bed wearing whipped cream
Then
does not work.
you can pause and play from the iPad. It pauses and play. It does take some time to buffer, but not very long.
As can be seen from the review, there are a lot of things to be positive about with the iPad. For a start, the battery life is absolutely amazing. The advertised battery life is 10 hours of web surfing, and it gets easily that. If you switch off the Wi-Fi, it can last an entire day of doing things. It completely depends on what you're doing, but the battery life is beyond anything that I've ever used before. It's very responsive. It's got Apple's new A1 chip. I think that clocks in at 1 GHz for the processor, which makes it very, very fast, very snappy. Zooming in on things on web pages is almost instant, with no delay or lag. AirPlay is a game changer in terms of watching videos and taking your content with you. And even just taking your content with you to watch on the iPad is an excellent thing. It works as an ebook reader, as you saw, magazines, video, music. I took one on a holiday for 3 weeks, and I didn't need anything else. I had all my video on there. And just the ease of use. Anyone who's used an iPhone or an iPod Touch will instantly be familiar with it. Those who haven't, it's still very easy to get used to. So I'd recommend it for those reasons. Despite the iPad being an excellent device, there are a few things that will put people off. The keyboard itself can take a bit of getting used to, and when you first use one you might find it difficult to type on. And the lack of a USB port has put some people off. You can get an adapter, but that only allows transfer of pictures from a camera. That could be a big thing if you want to plug in a USB keyboard or other USB devices like an external hard drive. On that point, there isn't a SD card slot. Again, you need an adapter for that. Some people put off by the size. You can only have 64 gigabytes memory, which is still quite a lot, but a lot of people will have a lot more videos, apps, that sort of thing, and might be put off by the minimal size, and it's not expandable, as I said, through the SD card. I would wholeheartedly recommend the iPad for anyone looking for a mobile computing solution or a device for watching content on. It has an excellent screen, excellent battery life, and it's very user-friendly. As long as you can get past the fact that it doesn't have a USB port and that there isn't an SD card for expandability, it is a perfect device in these situations. If you're still in doubt about the iPad, I'd recommend going into a Best Buy store and having a play on one. As soon as you play on one, you'll see all the positives coming out. The iPad starts at $429.99, that's for the 16GB Wi-Fi version, and goes up to $699.99, which is for the 64GB Wi-Fi plus 3G. Thank you very much for watching.